Welcome, viewers, to a jaw-dropping revelation that's set to shake the very foundations of American politics. Brace yourselves as we unveil the twisted tale of Donald J. Trump's legal nightmare, meticulously deconstructed by none other than the incomparable Jon Stewart. In the midst of a tumultuous legal landscape, Trump finds himself ensnared in a web of deceit and deception, with allegations of staggering fraud looming large over his once untouchable empire. But make no mistake, this is no mere scandal. It's a damning exposé of corruption at the highest levels of power. As Jon Stewart peels back the layers of Trump's alleged misdeeds, prepare to be shocked by the depths of deceit and manipulation that have defined his reign. From inflated property values to fraudulent financial statements, Trump's rap sheet reads like a playbook for white-collar criminals. But the real kicker? Despite mounting evidence of wrongdoing, Trump and his cronies have the audacity to cry foul, painting themselves as victims of a biased legal system hell-bent on their destruction. It's a narrative straight out of the Trump playbook: deflect, deny, and distract. But this time, the stakes couldn't be higher. As we delve deeper into the murky waters of Trump's legal saga, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the man who once held the highest office in the land is now facing the reckoning he so richly deserves. And with Jon Stewart at the helm, no stone will be left unturned in our quest for truth and justice. So buckle up, folks, because what you're about to witness is nothing short of a seismic shift in the American political landscape. Trump's empire is crumbling, and there's nowhere left to hide. It's time to expose the crooked system for what it truly is, and Jon Stewart is leading the charge. Prepare to be stunned as we delve into the heart of Donald Trump's alleged $450 million fraud case. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill legal skirmish, it's a sordid tale of greed, deception, and betrayal at the highest levels of power. According to reports from sources like The Guardian, Trump stands accused of systematically inflating the value of his real estate holdings for over a decade. But the kicker? When it came time to pay taxes, Trump conveniently undervalued those very same properties. It's a classic case of playing fast and loose with the rules, all in the pursuit of personal gain. But the implications of Trump's alleged fraud go far beyond mere financial malfeasance. By artificially inflating property values, Trump not only cheated the system, he cheated the American people. Every dollar siphoned away through deceitful schemes represents a betrayal of the public trust. And yet, despite mounting evidence of wrongdoing, Trump continues to brazenly deny any culpability, clinging to his delusions of innocence like a drowning man grasping at straws. But let's call a spade a spade. Trump's alleged fraud is nothing short of a disgrace. It's a stain on the fabric of American democracy, a glaring reminder of the corrosive effects of unchecked power and privilege. And as the walls close in around him, Trump can no longer hide from the truth. The days of playing by his own rules are over. It's time for accountability. It's time for justice. And it's time for Donald J. Trump to answer for his crimes. Hold on to your seats as we uncover the shocking truth behind Eric Trump's revelation about the $500 million bond demand. According to reports from reputable sources like CNBC, Eric Trump claims that they were unable to secure a $500 million bond for his father due to rejection by insurance companies. But here's the kicker: instead of acknowledging the gravity of the situation, Eric Trump has the audacity to frame it as election interference. It's a blatant attempt to deflect blame and paint his father as the victim, when in reality, Trump's own shady dealings are what brought him to this precipice. Let's be clear, the demand for a $500 million bond is not some arbitrary punishment dreamed up by Trump's political adversaries. It's a necessary step to ensure accountability and protect the interests of those affected by Trump's alleged fraud. And yet, Eric Trump would have us believe that his father is the real victim here, targeted by a nefarious conspiracy to bring him down. But the truth is far more damning. Trump's refusal to accept responsibility for his actions speaks volumes about his character, or lack thereof. Instead of facing the music like a man, he and his cronies continue to peddle lies and misinformation in a desperate bid to cling to power. But the jig is up, and the American people see through their deceit. So let's not be fooled by Eric Trump's smoke and mirrors. The $500 million bond demand is not about election interference, it's about holding Trump accountable for his crimes. And no amount of spin can change that fact. Get ready to be appalled as we shine a light on the New York Attorney General's relentless pursuit of Trump's legal battles, and the devastating impact it could have on thousands of jobs. According to reports from sources like CNN, the Attorney General's aggressive tactics have sent shockwaves through the business community, leaving countless workers in jeopardy of losing their livelihoods. But instead of acknowledging the human cost of her crusade, the Attorney General remains steadfast in her pursuit of Trump, heedless of the collateral damage left in her wake. Make no mistake, the threat to thousands of jobs is not just a byproduct of Trump's legal woes, it's a direct consequence of the Attorney General's reckless actions. By targeting Trump's business interests with such fervor, she has endangered the livelihoods of hard-working Americans who rely on those businesses for their livelihoods. And yet, she shows no signs of relenting, driven by a misguided sense of righteousness that blinds her to the real-world consequences of her actions. But let's call it what it is, the Attorney General's crusade against Trump is nothing short of a witch hunt, driven by partisan politics and personal vendettas. Instead of focusing on issues that truly matter to the American people, she has chosen to expend valuable time and resources on a futile quest to bring down a political foe. And in the process, she has jeopardized the economic well-being of thousands of families who can ill afford to bear the brunt of her misguided agenda. So let's not be fooled by the Attorney General's hollow rhetoric. The threat to thousands of jobs is not a necessary sacrifice in the pursuit of justice, it's a tragic consequence of her own hubris and incompetence. And it's high time she faced the consequences of her actions, before more innocent lives are needlessly destroyed in her relentless pursuit of power. Prepare to be astounded as we pull back the curtain on Trump's alleged staggering fraud. Recent revelations from credible sources like The Guardian shed light on the extent of Trump's deceitful practices, including the systematic inflation of property values for financial gain. But the real shocker: despite overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing, Trump and his cronies continue to peddle falsehoods and distortions in a desperate attempt to evade accountability. Let's be clear, Trump's alleged fraud isn't just a minor indiscretion, it's a calculated scheme to defraud the American people. By artificially inflating property values and then undervaluing them for tax purposes, Trump has cheated the system and lined his own pockets at the expense of hard-working taxpayers. And yet, he has the audacity to portray himself as the victim, crying foul at every turn and seeking to blame others for his own misdeeds. But the truth will not be so easily obscured. As investigators peel back the layers of Trump's financial empire, they uncover a web of deceit and corruption that stretches far beyond what anyone could have imagined. From shady real estate deals to dubious financial transactions, Trump's rap sheet reads like a laundry list of white-collar crimes, and yet, he continues to act with impunity, shielded by his wealth and influence. But make no mistake, Trump's days of operating above the law are numbered. As the evidence against him mounts, so too does the pressure for accountability. And while he may try to spin the narrative in his favor, the truth cannot be denied: Trump's alleged fraud is nothing short of a betrayal of the American people. And he must be held to account for his actions. Brace yourselves as we delve into the unprecedented bond demand that has become the focal point of Trump's battle against New York's legal machine. Reports from trusted sources like CNBC highlight the staggering magnitude of the demand, a jaw-dropping $500 million. A sum so astronomical that it defies comprehension. But instead of accepting responsibility for his alleged wrongdoing, Trump and his allies have chosen to wage war against the very institutions tasked with upholding the rule of law. Let's be clear, the demand for a $500 million bond is not some arbitrary punishment dreamed up by Trump's political adversaries. It's a necessary step to ensure accountability and protect the interests of those affected by Trump's alleged fraud. And yet, instead of facing the music like a man, Trump has chosen to dig in his heels and fight tooth and nail against any attempt to hold him accountable for his actions. But make no mistake, Trump's battle against New York's legal machine is nothing short of a desperate attempt to evade justice. By casting himself as the victim of a biased legal system, Trump seeks to deflect attention away from his own misdeeds and portray himself as a martyr for the cause. But the truth is far more damning: Trump's alleged fraud represents a betrayal of the public trust. And he must be held to account for his actions, no matter how powerful or influential he may be. Prepare to be floored as we uncover the truth about Trump's assets and expose the real estate valuations that have long been shrouded in deception. According to reports from credible sources like The Guardian, Trump stands accused of systematically inflating the value of his properties to secure loans and then undervaluing them for tax purposes, a duplicitous scheme that reeks of corruption and deceit. But here's where it gets truly shocking: despite mounting evidence of fraudulent activity, Trump and his cronies continue to peddle the myth of his wealth and success, painting a picture of opulence and extravagance that belies the reality of his financial mismanagement. From lavish golf resorts to gilded skyscrapers, Trump's empire is built on a foundation of lies and deceit, with each new revelation exposing the true extent of his deception. But make no mistake, Trump's house of cards is on the verge of collapse. As investigators peel back the layers of his financial empire, they uncover a tangled web of deceit and manipulation that stretches far beyond what anyone could have imagined. And while Trump may try to spin the narrative in his favor, the truth cannot be denied: his real estate valuations are nothing more than smoke and mirrors, designed to conceal the rot at the heart of his empire. But the American people deserve better. They deserve leaders who are honest and transparent, who uphold the values of integrity and accountability. And it's high time that Trump was held to account for his actions, before his lies and deceit inflict even more damage on our democracy. Listen up as we heed the warning of Kevin O'Leary, shedding light on why business leaders are fleeing New York in droves. According to reports from reputable sources like CNBC, O'Leary's concerns stem from the hostile business environment created by Trump's legal battles and the uncertainty surrounding the future of the city's economy. As Trump's legal woes continue to mount, so too does the exodus of businesses seeking greener pastures elsewhere. But here's the kicker: instead of addressing the root causes of this mass exodus, Trump and his allies continue to double down on their misguided policies, driving even more businesses away and exacerbating the city's economic woes. From burdensome regulations to punitive tax policies, Trump's tenure has been marked by a systematic assault on the business community, with devastating consequences for New York's economy. And yet, despite the mounting evidence of the damage caused by Trump's policies, he and his cronies remain defiant, refusing to acknowledge the role they have played in driving businesses away. But the truth is undeniable: Trump's toxic brand of politics has made New York inhospitable to businesses, driving away jobs and investment and leaving behind a hollowed-out shell of a once great city. But the American people deserve better. They deserve leaders who prioritize the needs of the people over partisan politics, who work tirelessly to create an environment where businesses can thrive and succeed. And it's high time that Trump and his cronies were held accountable for their actions, before their reckless policies inflict even more damage on our economy and our communities. Hold on to your seats as we delve into the burning question: will Trump face trial before November? According to recent reports from trusted sources like the New York Times, the answer remains shrouded in uncertainty, with legal proceedings bogged down by delays and procedural hurdles. But make no mistake, the clock is ticking, and the American people deserve answers before they head to the polls. Despite Trump's best efforts to delay justice, the wheels of justice continue to turn, inching closer to a reckoning that could have seismic implications for his political future. From allegations of election interference to charges of financial fraud, Trump's legal battles threaten to overshadow the upcoming election, casting a dark cloud over the political landscape. But here's the kicker: Trump's legal troubles are not just a political sideshow, they're a direct threat to our democracy. By seeking to evade accountability for his actions, Trump undermines the very foundations of our system of government, eroding public trust and sowing division and discord. And yet, despite the gravity of the situation, Trump remains defiant, refusing to acknowledge the seriousness of the charges against him. But the American people are not fooled. They see through Trump's desperate attempts to cling to power, and they demand accountability for his actions. So let's be clear, the stakes could not be higher. As Trump's legal battles drag on, the American people deserve answers, and they deserve them now. Whether Trump faces trial before November remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the truth will ultimately prevail, and justice will be served. Prepare for frustration as we delve into the latest setback in Georgia's election interference case. Recent reports from reputable sources like CNN reveal that the case has once again been delayed, leaving the American people in the dark about the true extent of Trump's efforts to undermine our democracy. Despite mounting evidence of wrongdoing, Trump and his allies continue to play fast and loose with the legal system, using every trick in the book to delay justice and avoid accountability. But make no mistake, every delay is a slap in the face to the American people, who deserve answers about the integrity of our electoral process. But here's the kicker: the longer this case drags on, the more damage it does to our democracy. By casting doubt on the legitimacy of our elections, Trump undermines the very foundations of our system of government, eroding public trust and sowing division and discord. And yet, despite the urgency of the situation, Trump remains defiant, refusing to acknowledge the seriousness of the charges against him. But the American people are not fooled. They see through Trump's desperate attempts to cling to power, and they demand accountability for his actions. So let's be clear, the stakes could not be higher. As Georgia's election interference case languishes in legal limbo, the American people are left to wonder whether justice will ever be served. But one thing is certain: the truth will ultimately prevail, and those responsible for undermining our democracy will be held to account. Get ready for a deep dive into Trump's legal quagmire and the fallout from the Capitol riot. Recent reports from credible sources like NBC News shed light on the legal storm brewing around Trump, with investigations into his role in inciting the insurrection gaining steam. But here's the shocking truth: despite overwhelming evidence of his culpability, Trump continues to downplay his involvement and deflect blame onto others. By refusing to take responsibility for his actions, Trump not only undermines the rule of law but also poses a direct threat to our democracy. And yet, despite the gravity of the situation, Trump remains unrepentant, defiantly clinging to his delusions of grandeur and stoking the flames of division and discord. But the American people are not fooled. They see through Trump's lies and demand justice for those who lost their lives in the Capitol riot. So let's be clear, Trump's legal woes are not just a political sideshow, they're a direct threat to our democracy. As investigations into the Capitol riot gather momentum, the American people demand accountability for those responsible, no matter how powerful or influential they may be. And it's high time that Trump was held to account for his actions, before his reckless behavior inflicts even more damage on our democracy and our nation.